Cricket fans are smarter than ever before. But what they're offered is clickbait, lazy punditry, and SEO noise. Combox is for people who actually love the game. Smarter analysis, real conversations. Combox, the game lives on. Welcome to the KimAppa show here on Combox. We had this like really geeky thing where we were going to look at like one player each from all the major sides and be like which player is, if they have a really good tournament, are likely to win the whole World Cup for a team, or if they have a really bad tournament, are they likely to, you know, really stuff up the team and all these things. And then just before we come live, Pakistan has pulled out of the game against India. And of course, we're going to mention this a little bit. It's worth mentioning for just in case you're all unaware that myself and Robbie are not political experts on all these different things. And this is, Robbie, I would say at the moment, a political issue. It's gone well beyond cricket. Yeah. I know I've talked to a couple of people on a few different boards, and everyone's like, we just want to play cricket, right? Like, we're happy to play cricket. And it's gone well beyond that, hasn't it? And you know what it's like because you were involved in a similar thing when you were playing in the Veterans Tournament recently, right? Where you were like you were getting hung out to dry a little bit. But this is very much politics based at the moment, isn't it?
It is, and it's for the cricketers. It's like being between a rock and a hard place. You are basically pawns in the whole thing, and it's. You can't take a call either ways, because if you take a call either ways, you're going to be taken to the cleaners. So it's better to just kind of stay away from all of the conversations and just kind of remind yourself that you're just a cricketer who plays cricket, and that's where it starts and ends.
You guys eventually decided not to play in that Veterans game against Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also that you guys run businesses, have social media accounts and all those sorts of things where you're just like, is it worth us actually doing this?
No, it's not. It's too much of a risk, to be very honest, especially because once you're ex-cricketers or once you're ex-country players, you're basically left to your own scruples, right? So you got to figure out your own life. There's no one really backing you. You don't have, you don't belong to anybody, but you belong to the world of cricket, but you don't belong to any board, so to speak, right? So given that, you, in a sense, don't, you're basically out in the wild and you have to fend for yourself. And this is the medium through which we put food on the table today, right? This is how we serve our families today. So it's a massive risk to take. So it's better to err on the side of safety and say, you know, stay away from it all, because at the end of the day, a lot of people will push us to play it, and at that point they were pushing us to play it, so that it was almost like you can fire, like it would be like if the legends have played them, now these guys can actually play them, right? Because there was a lot of, at that point things are still again really fresh, the whole Pahalgam attacks and all of that. And we didn't want to play it, to be very honest. We just wanted to err on the side of safety. We want to respect the sentiments of the country at that point in time. And to be very honest, we're running businesses and all of that, right? Now, tomorrow, if there is something that, you know, that impacts the business, then it impacts our livelihood. So it's a very hard decision to make here, Jarrod. It's tough.
Weirdly enough, the other day I was commentating some games with Darren Goff, and he was playing in the 2003 World Cup, of course, when there was a lot of pressure for them to pull out of playing against Zimbabwe and in Zimbabwe, right? And what's fascinating about that one is that the players were kind of left on their own. So the board wasn't sure what to do. The government were like, we don't want you to play. But it wasn't like this situation where, you know, Bangladesh and Pakistan governments have taken over, right? So, and we'll talk about that. I've got a fair bit of stuff to talk about, some forfeits, because there's some really interesting stuff that I don't think everyone knows about. But specifically in that case, there was pressure from the government, but they didn't make the decision, which is what Goffey was saying in the end. He's like, Nasser Hussain ends up making the decision, right? And like, Nasser Hussain is not a diplomat. He's not a politician. No. He doesn't know everything about Zimbabwe, right? And he's been to Zimbabwe before, but he's not an expert in it in any way. So you end up in these situations where it could be really, really tough on the actual cricketers. So in this case, it seems to be on a completely different level where the governments have just got involved, right? And because of that, that it's been completely taken away. Just a reminder too to anyone sending in any super chats. Be smart today with your super chats. Like if it's Jarrod and Robbie, where think about what you're asking us and what we're going to do.
Yeah,
but
we're just two cricket guys talking cricket and responding, trying to respond to. Yeah, I love that. Jarrod has hair. Would you believe it? He's got a great head of hair actually, but he tries to kind of hide it under hats.
No, it's more to do with some wearing a hat. Who spent money on his own hair and still is having hair. No. I don't know how.
Yeah, look at this. Like I spent so much money on my hair. I've spent so much money on my hair. But I need to, like, before a live, I have to set it up. Otherwise, I have to just wear a hat like this.
Well, that's why my hair is really, really ungainly and doesn't do the same thing to you.
You're ungrateful. You're an ungrateful ass about your hair.
How did we go from talking about India, Pakistan to my hair? Very smoothly.
Thanks to our super chat. That's it. Be sensible about it.
That was a very good super chat. Thank you very much. I just want to talk about the forfeits. So we've already talked about the England-Zimbabwe one. So a lot of that was to do with, obviously, Robert Mugabe and Andy Flower and Henry Olonga and the things that were going on there. So that's one case. Did you know, and I know most cricket fans didn't know this, I put it in my piece the other day and I got about 5 emails from people about it going, are you sure this happened? Did you know that Zimbabwe refused to play in England for a World Cup?
Really? I didn't know. 99 World Cup.
No, it's also during your era. It was the 2009 T20 World Cup. So what was it called back then? The World T20 was called in those days, wasn't it? So before it was technically a World Cup, but they were World Cups. They just gave it a stupid name. They decided not to come over. And I was reading up some articles about it last week. And essentially they were like, this is a country that didn't want to come and visit us 6 years ago. Why would we want to go and visit that again? And it reminded me, Robbie, of the fact that the Olympics, of course, had that incredible moment where one time America doesn't go to Russia, and then one time Russia doesn't go to America, and yet the Olympics just went on. Like this is, I think, when it happens, and when I don't know what your reaction was, but when I saw the story about Pakistan's not going to play India, I was like, oh my god, this is the biggest thing ever. And then I was like, wait a minute, this kind of thing actually happens quite a lot, right across sports. And when this isn't as big as this is, it's not as big as perhaps the USA not going to an Olympics, right? And those sorts of things. So there's two with England and Zimbabwe that go back and forth. You would probably be more aware. I think the most famous ones are West Indies and Australia not going to Sri Lanka during the 96 World Cup, which of course becomes more famous because of what happens next, right? That Sri Lanka go on to win that tournament, and they had such a easy ride, despite the fact they still had to beat Australia to win it. So still a very
educate me. Why didn't Australia and West Indies want to go to Sri Lanka?
I believe there had been a bomb attack in Colombo not long before, and this is at the early part of of. Teams weren't as used to going to, especially Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka hadn't been playing cricket for that long. And of course, there was a civil war going on in Sri Lanka at that time. And I think the players from both of those sides thought, well, do we have to go and play in these games? And so I think I know with Cricket Australia, the board got involved. And I would assume with the West Indies, it was a similar thing where they were like, it's not worth us going over. Both of those teams still made the final. So I think Australia beat the West Indies in the semi-final, didn't they?
Semis, yeah.
Yeah. So both those teams still went on to have pretty good tournaments. And then obviously, and they were probably, Australia, weirdly enough, Australia, West Indies, and Sri Lanka were the three best teams probably in that tournament, right? Like they were the three that were the most likely to win it. But yeah, I think there'd been some sort of a big attack in Colombo. But I'm thinking back a long way. And didn't New Zealand... And I'm going to look this up in real time because I know I wrote this the other day, but New Zealand refused to play in Kenya during the 2023 World Cup.
Did they? Shit, man, I don't know this stuff.
Is that the other one? Maybe
in Super Chats can tell us what are the stuff that
I'm just trying to bring it up now. Yeah, 2003. New Zealand
2003, not 2023.
Oh, did I say 23? Sorry, 2000.
Yeah, I was like, dude, like, what?
Yeah, New Zealand Cricket Board today reconfirmed its decision to not allow New Zealand team to travel to Nairobi. And I'm trying to remember if there was another team at that time that also decided not to go to Kenya. Again, I believe, Robbie, I could be wrong on this, that was again safety. Yeah, here we go. So Snedden. So I'm assuming is that Martin Snedden, who was the former player? Yeah, Martin Snedden, the former player, was running the board at the time. And he said that they got and you would know this guy, Reg Dickerson. Have you ever come across Reg Dickerson?
No.
So Reg Dickerson was originally the Australian security expert, I think. He might have been Australia or England.
I probably know him if I see him.
Yeah, he looks like an old cop with a mustache, I think, for a lot of his career. And he was the security advisor, and he would go to all these countries and tell. And I'm pretty sure with New Zealand, that was the case. I can't remember if anyone else pulled out of the Kenya one. Rakshit might need to put it up on the screen if there was someone else who pulled out in the 2003 World Cup. So those are what, 5 that I've already come up with off the top of my head, right? Can I tell you the most interesting one, which is actually much more like what Pakistan have done with India here, even though it's not quite the same level, which is that in 1979, so 1975, we have a World Cup, Robbie, and we don't have a qualifying tournament. They just pick teams. They even made a team. East Africa wasn't even a team, right? They just made the team. And what the European
happened in the Women's World Cup as well, right?
Yeah.
Women's World Cup, they had the rest of the world.
Well, the first Women's World Cup, they actually just they took it a step further. They had a young England team, and they also split up the West Indies as well. So 1975 World Cup comes along, and there's no qualifying event. And what the European team say is, actually, we think we can compete with, Canada and Sri Lanka and these sorts of teams. We'd really like to have a qualifying event. So 79, they have a qualifying event. And in it, it's quite clear that Sri Lanka is the best team. And 4 years later, they're a test nation, right? No issue there. But no one knew that until that stage because these teams hadn't played each other all that much. And so one of the games in that tournament, Sri Lanka had to play against Israel, right? And the Sri Lankan government said, you're not playing against Israel. Now, Israel was a very poor team at that stage. I don't know if their cricket's improved a lot, but the Sri Lankan team was forbidden from playing in that game. And so there was a conversation at the time, Robbie, about what do we do? Do we kick Sri Lanka out of the tournament? Right? And eventually they forfeited the points. And there's a hilarious situation where there was a bunch of washouts and everything. And it's possible that had it gone a slightly different direction, that Sri Lanka might not have qualified for the 79 World Cup, which of course is the World Cup where they beat India, which is the one that leads to them getting test status in 1982. Right? So again, we've actually even had in cricket a political forfeit. That was a World Cup qualifier rather than a World Cup event. And I'm sure things like this have happened before. So my point being is none of these, what have we named there, 6 teams, are really looked down upon because they have forfeited games before, right? This is a thing that has happened in cricket and will happen again, I am sure, in that time. So again,
I think more so now. I think it'll happen a lot more now. I think if the world we live in today, it feels like we're going to see a lot more of this, right?
Yep.
Because we are getting more that like we're going to the ends of the spectrums, right?
More
we're going
extreme.
like very extreme right now. There's no modicum of balance at all. It's either one. If you don't agree with somebody, you go bang to the other side of the to the other extreme, right? And they park you there, even if your outlook is somewhere in the middle, So I think we'll see this a lot more in sport in general.
Yeah, I agree with you.
One of the things I can't kind of wrap my head around with this whole Pakistan thing is, yes, they boycotted this game, all right, but what's the message that they want to send? I don't know if it's official yet.
I think the boycott is official at the moment. Obviously, it can come back and change, but at the moment, it's official that they're not playing it. But whether that doesn't mean it's set in stone or anything, and I don't believe we have an official reason. I think what they're saying, this is what I never really understood about world cricket is, a lot of people will go, "Oh, India has all this power and wields it in all this way," and I was like, "Yeah, but if you're winning a World Cup, India cannot make money from a World Cup if the other teams don't play them, right?" So when the big 3 takeover started to happen, so around 2014, 2015, And I was obviously making a movie on it, right? So we're talking to all the board members, and they're like, "What if India leave?" And I went, "Do you really want to be the Indian politician that pulls their team out of a World Cup?" And they're looking at me like I was speaking a different language. And I said, these things matter to these countries, right? Like, you're thinking about it in the wrong way. You guys have power here as well. You may not have the same kind of power that India has, right? But it's the same when I talk to the smaller boards about where they're like, "Oh, look what's happening. All the three teams just keep playing each other over and over again." I went, "But you guys voted against the two-tier system originally, right? You could have all voted against the three major boards. There's more of you than there is of them. But you don't want to because you want the money." And the one thing I would say about this is the first time, Robbie, when someone has actually disrupted the money supply. Because I don't have the numbers to hand, but let's go with the basic idea that 80% of revenue in the world comes from Indian cricket, right? What percentage of that comes from the India-Pakistan game? It's not. It's a big percentage because it is what it's what the Asia Cup rights are based on. It's what the Champions Trophy rights are based on. It's what the World Cup rights are based on, T20 and ODI. All of those rights are massively inflated by that one game, right? And when you look at it, again, if you're going to play anything, and I'm not saying politicians should play with anything, I'm just saying this is clearly why they're doing it as much as anything. This is the game that is the most interesting. But this also means that if this game doesn't get played regularly, and I think we can both agree this has been on the verge for a long time, it completely changes what international cricket is, because so much of the funding of international cricket comes from the fact that India are going to play Pakistan at least once in every World Cup.
Yeah. That's a fair call.
So I don't know. It might be
I
like
think on some level
of the global international money.
You think that big a number?
I actually think it might be more, but I don't know there's a way to do it. But if you look at the cricket rights compared to like the rugby rights, right? There's we get a lot more numbers in cricket, but if you think about the consumers and the products and everything, they're quite often cheaper products, right? Like as in compared to, other markets. You know this, you run a YouTube page, right? You and I have to get a lot more views because Google and YouTube say that Indian eyeballs and Pakistani and Bangladeshi eyeballs aren't worth as much as eyeballs from other countries, right? And TV deals work and advertising and everything else works the same way. It's nonsense in many different ways, but that's how it actually works, right? So rugby doesn't, one of the big differences, and I talked to some of the people who run international rugby a while back about this. They were like, the two things we want from cricket is India versus Pakistan, right? And T20. Those were the two things they were trying to get. They thought that sevens was getting them towards having a T20 style version of rugby, right? Not quite at the same level. They said people don't take it as seriously as they do T20 cricket, so we can't make as much money off it. But
but T20 cricket also was never something that was taken seriously initially.
No, of course. But they were saying that they're seeing it as more of a secondary sport, whereas T20 has become the main sport, right? Like very, very quickly. But you're right. You're also right within the game. But the other thing they were saying is they don't have like a marquee game that everyone wants. Like New Zealand versus South Africa, they might be the two best rugby teams in the world, right? It doesn't move the needle. Australia versus England doesn't move the needle as much as the cricket version of that does. And so if we can't have that, it's going to affect the rights. And, it's worth talking to, some of the people who are much more experts in rights than you and me. But financially, this means that when Pakistan decide not to play India, it means that most cricket boards in the world are going to be poorer tomorrow than they are today, if it continues.
Yeah, but I also think on a certain level, Pakistan can't afford to do this all the time, right? In the sense that, on multiple different fronts. Like if you think about, they boycott one game, but what if they meet at another stage, at the Super 8s, Super 6s, or whatever they're called, right?
If they meet the semi-finals, are you going to pull out of
the semis or the finals? Will they boycott a semi-final or a final? Because you have to understand, like, who pays for the revenue of that? Like, if you're forfeiting a game, then there is going to be some implication of that on the team that forfeits it, right? And so, what is the implication that ICC is going to decide that Pakistan have to pay? Right.
Well, I mean, this is where it gets interesting because no team has ever had to pay for a forfeit before, right? You pay by losing points. So is there a way because this is not a normal game, like with all due respect to England versus Zimbabwe, right? This is not the same. If that game is
Yeah, of
cancelled,
course
it
not.
doesn't really change the rights. This is a huge part of the ICC's rights is built around these games, right? And as you said, when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about all of them being cancelled, and that's my high number. But this might still be like 1 or 2% of the overall rights package. It could even be 3 or 4% of the overall ICC rights package, right? And
So I
now,
know that.
where does it go?
Yeah, I know that like every board gets a certain amount of money from the ICC to host tournaments, right?
Yes.
I don't know for sure, but from what I heard, for example, the Champions Trophy that was held in that was supposed to be hosted by Pakistan, I think they got somewhere close to over $500 million just to host the tournament.
No, it's not that much.
Right?
It's way less than that.
Is it? Because
You're talking US dollars?
Yeah.
No. It's I think we can go back. There's a Sri Lanka one that was made public. It's way less than you would think.
We have to find out because
it wasn't $500 million for Pakistan, man. Because cricket can't afford that. They would never have voted Pakistan in to give them that money. Do you know what I mean? Because that's taking away the money from all the other boards. But you do. What happened was, I think I'm right in saying that when Sri Lanka hosted the 2012 World Cup, they didn't have the finances on hand to be able to run the tournament correctly. And I think that maybe England had a Champions Trophy just after that. And they were saying the same thing. They were like, guys, this is actually costing us a lot of money to host this event. Can we have our ground fees covered? Can we have, basic things, right? And from that time, I think most boards have got something back from hosting it. Not enough to make a profit, but enough for it to not be a drain. So unlike the Olympics, right? If you host an Olympics, you're basically in debt for the rest of your life as a city. You never make that money back, right? If you host an Olympics.
Yeah.
And I think cricket was, because cricket World Cups are getting bigger and bigger, there was an element of that happening.
And still people are vying for that Olympics to happen in their city.
Don't get me started on that.
That's
the biggest scam in sport.
No, get started on that.
Because the Olympics is the biggest scam in sport. It's like the Olympics is $1 billion organization, and they defraud cities into spending all this money on all these stadiums. And apologies to everyone in Los Angeles, Brisbane, Delhi, Riyadh, whichever the next ones are all going to be in. It's like you're just getting scammed. Your tax money is going.
No. I don't think it's only the Olympics that benefiting out of this, but it's also the associations that are vying for these, right? It's also the associations that are vying for these, because I think the associations that vie for these actually earn a lot more.
When you say the associations, what do you mean? The actual
the Olympic associations, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The IOC,
even the Indian Olympic associations, right? Like or the
Australian one,
or the Australian one, or the American one, right? Because there's a lot of There's a lot of money that they make through, the construction and all of that other stuff, that the infrastructure basically of setting this whole thing up, and that's why people go mad over trying to win it and thinking of it as a pride, like a pride thing for the city or the country, but there are agendas behind that, as always.
It's 100%. And the issue that I have is that the Olympics is a multi-billion-dollar organization, right? That you and I can't put up a single clip from the Olympics without getting our channel shut down. They are so good at all that sort of stuff and everything else, right? And yet they make the cities pay for this thing. And then they say, oh, if you have an Olympics, we'll put you on the map. And it's like, well, that's not true financially. Some of these cities, and when I say some, almost all of them are still in the negative from the time that they held the Olympics. They don't make that money back. That money is gone, and it's gone forever.
Yeah.
Right? And you become a trivia question if people can remember which cities have had Olympics, right? But there are plenty of smaller cities who've had Olympics that people don't remember, right? Like, we can all remember London and Paris and Athens because they've had it so many times. But there are plenty of other smaller cities that I think people would forget have ever had an Olympics.
Yeah, but I think this is what I love about media today, right? It was one of the boons of media today is that there's so much information out there about what actually happens and there's so much information
Yeah.
about all the scams that have been unearthed through media today, that you can't run the scam anymore. You know, it becomes something that's not as efficient anymore, and people see through it, right? So the value of a product drops, and you got to be authentic about, you know, what the value of a product actually is.
And this is what's fascinating as well, of when it comes to this India-Pakistan game, the interesting thing about it is, let's say they don't play this first game, right? So at this stage, it doesn't seem like they're going to. If they play, let's say somehow, and we can actually talk about cricket in a moment, but if they play Pakistan later in the tournament in here, right, is the viewership actually going to go up even more? Is the next time they play each other?
It will.
Do you know what I mean?
It will. It's obvious, right?
I'm with you.
And I think it will go up, and it's bound to go up, because you're building that kind of narrative to it, right? It becomes more controversial to watch it. So there's obviously going to be a lot more eyeballs in that, and I think maybe that's the point that Pakistan want to make, that we're still forces to reckon with. Maybe that's what they're trying. Maybe that's what they're trying to draw home, or drive home, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that part of it is, let's be honest here, we both believe, without being political experts, this is just political nonsense, and it's various different politicians getting involved when they don't need to, and causing a mess. But from a cricket politics point of view, what you just said makes sense. And this is the thing that I've always said about all these other countries, right? And it's the same. It was always the same too, with like Australia would go on and on about their great crowds and their great viewership, right? And I always believed the same thing. Oh yeah, Australia's doing this incredible thing. And then one day, this guy who does a lot of independent research into the finances of cricket said to me, he goes, yeah, but another team has to fly there and play Australia. Australia can't be better than the rest of the world, right? If they do that. So the Australian players are on like, this was a few years back now. He's like, Australian players are on like $800,000, $1.5 million, right? And they're playing a team who is almost beating them or occasionally beating them in games, and they're on like 150,000, and yet they're both making money from that game. And that's one of the big issues with cricket, right? Is no one can match India's market. No one's ever going to even pretending that they can match India's market, but you still actually have to play them, right? You still have to go up against them. For a team to win a World Cup, they need to beat all the other sides. And I think that's where we've always got a bit lost in cricket. And I think we got lost in it back in the old days when it was England. We got lost in it when it was Australia. We get lost in it with India. It's like these teams have to beat other teams, right? We know they're going to be the three biggest teams because of their media markets, right? There was a great question. Usman Samiuddin asked one of the best questions when we were at the Big Three takeover. It's one of the first times ICC had a proper press event, Robbie, in its history, where all the journalists came in, and we're all there. And there's I forget his name, but it was a guy from New Zealand Cricket who was running it at the time. And he said, well, what we've allowed for is we're going to allow for Cricket Australia, the ECB and the BCCI to take over the kind of decision-making process and everything else, right? And Usman's like, other than the fact that they come from the three biggest media markets, what makes you think that they're a better run cricket board than the other cricket boards? And you just saw this like lack of blood run to this guy's face, because there is no answer, right? Like if you're in Melbourne, right, you and me could do an arm wrestling competition in Melbourne and we get 6,000 people to come and watch it, right? Like cricket in Australia was run terribly. Cricket in Australia was run so terribly, Robbie, that Kerry Packer just bought all the players. They had 100,000 seat arena and they let some random billionaire come in and buy all the players. Like, let's not pretend that Cricket Australia is the reason that cricket is so big in Australia, right? It's separate to that. Yeah. And I think that that's what these other boards have never really got their heads around, right? Okay.
I don't think that it ever works in that way, because I think everyone who comes to run the administration of a board is always about, you know, being there for the power of it and not necessarily for the administrative side of it. Because you've never seen, like, seldom do you see administrators, and I say this globally, right? Seldom do you see administrators actually working in the best interest of a particular sport, right? It's often about what power that seat yields or that chair yields to certain people, right? And I think it's that draws them there more than the work itself or the benefit itself, right? Because I think, like, when you look at cricket also, like, there's so much that can be done from like if I'm talking about just India, right? There's so much that can be done for Indian cricketers. Like today, I'm playing in this Legends League right now, and there's so much that can be done, because see, the thing is, this is our core competence, right? Playing cricket is our core competence. We spend our entire childhood trying to make it in this sport, and if we do make it in different degrees, then this is what we do for the next 20 years, right? And when we finish this career of ours, we're about 40, which we still have more than half of our lives ahead of us, right? And then so what is done for the cricketers post they're done, right? Or athletes post that they're done. And I'm speaking about this from a cricket point of view because I'm playing cricket, but this holds good for every sport in the world, right? There's very little that's been done for standardizing something that puts food on the table for athletes who finish their careers very, very early in their lives, right? And there's a lot that can be done, right? Yeah. You and I have spoken about this, right? When you finish playing cricket or when you finish playing a sport, at the back end of your career, your earning potential is always kind of going down. But when you finish playing the sport, it's if you haven't, like if you've not played your cards right, it's a complete standstill, and your earning potential just just skyrockets down. Just goes down completely, skyrockets
like
down. What am I saying? Crashes down. Okay, and then there's a huge drop in relevance. There's a huge drop from significance as well, and that primes you for mental health issues, right? There's a lot that one can do to just prepare athletes to transition from playing to not playing. Right, to transition from using those skills that their core competence where that core competence exists, to utilize that to serve people coming up through the ranks. So you're serving two ends of the spectrum where you're helping someone figure out their lives moving forward, and then you're developing young talent coming up through the ranks. There's so much that can be done. I'm speaking to some cricketers from other parts of the world today who are in the handyman business, right? After playing international cricket and playing test cricket, right? Like it's unfortunate. It's no judgment about any what's that? Any profession.
No, but
it's about
into the best 10.
You've been at the pinnacle of if you're you've been at the pinnacle of a sport, you want life to actually keep you in the vicinity of that, right? You would want to stay in the vicinity of that. And that's often not granted to athletes.
Well, I mean, I'll give you two very good examples. One is about players and one is not. I had one player come to me at one stage and go, "You're always talking about the administration. Just stick to cricket. Like, stop talking about the administration." And I was like, "You are one of the best 50 players in the world, right? Do you think we have the 50 best sports administrators that are backing you up?" Right? No one believes that. No one in cricket would ever say, "Oh, the administration's incredible in this sport," right? And so you've got the best cricketers in the world not being backed up by the best sports administrators. But then you talked about the players. What about the fans? Outside of Australia, and the only reason Australian stadiums are really good is because of Aussie rules football mostly, and sometimes rugby as well. Outside of Australia, most cricket stadiums in the world are inadequate, not run correctly. It's hard to get into them.
I would disagree about that in South Africa. I think South Africa is really cool.
No, some of the South African stadiums are terrible, man. No, definitely. I've been there.
I'm telling you, being there now. Like I've just come out of there, and I'm telling you that I don't think there's a greater sporting experience.
No. You're talking about two different things. Do they have wheelchair access everywhere where people need it?
Yeah.
Do they have disabled toilets? Do they have creche areas for parents? Can you put stuff
creche areas? No, of course not.
Okay, so go to
but
other
you
sports
can't
around
have
the world.
creche areas in a sporting environment, bro.
Of course you do. Australia has them. Plenty of places have
them. You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you go into an Australian cricket ground with a pram, and I've gone into cricket grounds around the world in prams, the first thing they tell you is where all the facilities are that you will need as a parent going ahead. I've been to South Africa as well. They do. It's nowhere near. You have to come in on quite often. You're walking in on dirt tracks in some of those grounds, right? The stadiums aren't built up.
No.
We do not look after. Dude, I've been to all these grounds for years, right? They do not look after people.
Like, I've been to South Africa just now, and I'm going through every ground that I've been to.
Okay, but you've also been to see the Sacramento Kings, right?
Yeah.
Is it similar? Is it a similar level of professional?
No, it's... No, of course
we're
not.
a multi-billion-dollar sport with amateur grounds. Our fans are not looked after, Robbie. Right across the cricket.
Yeah, Like, dude, I couldn't agree with you more about the fans not
I
being
love
looked
South
after.
African grounds. I know what you're saying. They're great. They're a great environment, and I love the people there, and I love what the people have done. But I don't
The
love the way they've
atmospheric
set up the
experience
stands.
is in.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
but that's
atmospheric experience
fans.
is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I
And I
mean?
think from that point of view, yes, I think there's a lot that can be done as far as provision for the stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But a fan experience, I think in South Africa could almost be second to none. And I'm saying,
what you're
correct.
talking about is
When
the
you compare
atmosphere
it,
of the
no,
crowds.
when you compare it to American sport, of course it's not fan experience. Like I know, I know what fan experience in America is.
Exactly.
Like
But not
I've gone,
just
like,
because-
dude, they've, like,
Yeah.
I've gone to an NFL game where they're playing professional freaking sport, paying these athletes $250 million for a 5-year, 6-year contract, right? And these professional athletes are playing this said professional sport in a completely enclosed
Yeah.
AC environment, right?
Yeah.
AC like, bro, it's like I'm sitting there in the stands. I'm sitting there in one of those boxes, and I'm like, this is professional sport in America. You're playing it in the luxury of being fully covered with ACs on, bro. They have mastered capitalization of sport.
But here's my point. You just said that cricket doesn't look after cricketers. I also don't think it looks after spectators.
No, I don't think it looks after. Sorry, what are you saying?
I also don't think it looks after spectators. Right?
No, it doesn't. I agree with you.
So those are the two things that cricket
Indian
is built
cricket
on.
grounds.
Yeah.
Bro, Indian cricket grounds. My
Indian
God.
cricket grounds, right? Sri Lankan cricket grounds. It's like, why
Oh.
build a new stadium in the middle of nowhere when your main stadium is not professional already? Like, why are you spending this money? And again, it comes back to where we started this podcast. It's more about politics than anything else. But my point being is, in cricket, those are the two things that we never get right. Looking after the people who make the game and looking after the people who are the reason that those guys can't make the
100%.
game. And it's just like,
100%.
you just go around in circles over and over again. And it's like, yeah, look, there's some great grounds around the world. Like, you know, there's
there are.
like, you know, like even grounds that aren't professional. Like I love Malahide, right? Like I know it's a club ground and everything, but it's got, as you said before, it's a bit like the South African grounds. It's just like, it feels like a community there. Everyone's in on it.
Yeah.
But also
Yeah.
you have to use a porta potty all day because it's not a real cricket ground, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it gets a bit wet
Yeah.
at one stage, it's hard to get wheelchairs around because there isn't always like, you know, because it's a friggin' park and it's not everywhere. My
Yeah.
point is we just don't do anything, right? And so you come back to this whole thing of, we have never managed to actually fully professionalize cricket. And I think to bring it all back to the India-Pakistan game, we're in a situation where when something like this happens, we are much more at the we're actually at the ability to get stuffed over by politicians because we haven't professionalized the whole game, right? Because we haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bro, come on. Like, we're always like, if we don't choose to do things our way, we're always going to be at the mercy of other people, and you and I know that, and we've had a conversation as early as a few days ago about this, and I think it's just the way the cookie crumbles today, and unless people take a stand and people start standing up, and I reckon that this generation of kids, like the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas of the world, will be the ones who will like incite revolutions in the world, because there will be a point beyond which they will be like, fuck, stop this shit, let's let's just like bring this back a little bit, this is just getting mad, you know. And I think
definitely.
it's happening at a global scale right now, and you look at things and it's like everything is so precarious, like everything is so precarious. It's like there's nothing that feels like it's stable enough, right? Including sport today, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you know why the ICC formed?
No, go ahead, educate me. I thought it was to run cricket.
Yes and no. Basically, what had happened is that Australia had been playing England quite regularly, and occasionally they would play South Africa, and England were playing South Africa a bit. Australia didn't play them as much. And South Africa realized that they were the third wheel, right? So they proposed an incredible event, which was a test series World Cup between the three teams in England. And
A Test Series World Cup
yeah,
between
they
the three
played
of
it.
them.
1911. Go and have a look. It existed, right? Hilariously,
boy.
this is how broken our sport was from the beginning. Australia didn't send over their best players because they were on strike, because they refused to go over because the board was running it, whereas generally the teams had run themselves up until that point, which is a whole different discussion about how things should be. But South Africa decided that it was going to be called the Imperial Cricket Conference. They brought England in, and then they said one of the stipulations, right, was that you would only be able to join test playing status if you were part of the Commonwealth. So at that stage, outside of South Africa, you had America and Ireland were really strong sides, for instance. Obviously, India and the West Indies and New Zealand were playing cricket as well. And so by making that club the way we did, in that political way, and about being part of the Commonwealth, meant that America and Ireland just faded away as cricket nations. Now, there were other reasons why both of them went away, because they were involved in other sports and all these sorts of things. But when it comes down to it, like, we've been making decisions when it comes to politics in cricket for a long time, and it generally doesn't work very well for us as a sport. So we'll leave you with that. We have 19...
You see that with tennis as well, right?
Yeah.
You see that with tennis as well. Like, look at tennis today. It's like, oh my God, like, it's like a lot of it is just in the is in the shits right now, and you're hoping for the sport that it is, and for the joy it brings to people, that it's just run with a modicum of decency for the players as well.
Can I give one thing back to a lot of these people? You talked about this before. We both have admitted that the best administrators don't usually end up running cricket, and there's many different reasons for that and everything else. But it is really hard to run a global sport in the modern day, because there are so many things. Like, it's hard to run a global business, right? A global sport, like, so many things attached to it. So I'm not forgiving the tennis or the cricket or any of the other sports that are struggling, but I also do understand the basic tenets of why it's so hard. Now, Robbie, I have to ask you a practical question here. We have 19 super chats. We did have another podcast episode we were going to do. Should we skip that other podcast episode and just go to the super chats?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, let's have a quick break, and on the way back, we will super chat you. Cricket has never finished at the close of play. It lives in the arguments, the memories, the comment sections. Cricket makes you talk. Combox is entering that chat. All right. Welcome back to KimAppa. Jarrod and Robbie are with you. The orange is bad for me. Fair point for Pakistan for not playing with India. They have the right to boycott India game, but they should have told this in advance. They agreed on a hybrid model before the Champions Trophy. Unprofessional behavior. It's definitely unprofessional. I don't think any of us would say this is professional for this to happen so late. The one thing I would say in Pakistan's defense, and I'm not defending the politicians involved here, but the one thing I would say is that 3 weeks ago, none of this was even on the board, right? Like, a lot of this has happened around this 1st or 2nd of January. So it is one of those things. But if you're forfeiting a game, I think most teams would forfeit a game quite late, because they make that decision quite late. So if you go through the history of it,
sure,
I think you'll probably see most of the forfeits are quite late. Because we knew 2 or 3 weeks ago there was a chance that this game would be forfeited, or that Pakistan might not play in this tournament at all. You can imagine the many politicians who all hate each other who have had to make this decision and get to where we are.
Jar, a question.
Go.
Can you kind of get to the point where, what point are Pakistan trying to drive home here?
I think they're trying to drive home that that this is their chance to say that there is something, that the power balance doesn't always make sense, because there is power in more than one direction at the moment. And I think what they were waiting for, so what Pakistan, and I'm talking about cricket people here, not the politicians, because I don't talk to them, obviously. But I think what they were saying before is that there are a lot of teams who are complaining that all of India's games were fixed for different locations in the 2024 T20 World Cup. There was a lot of people who were complaining within cricket, and you would know this, complaining about what happened with the Champions Trophy as well, that India didn't have to travel and everyone else had to travel and everything else. And Pakistan kept saying, well, you guys aren't speaking up, right? And I think when Bangladesh spoke up, even if we both disagree with what has happened and how it has happened, right? I think what Pakistan is like, it's time for us to join together. This is what cricket has never done. And I'm not just talking about this in, like, basically since the 90s when the Asian bloc originally formulated, or the 80s when the Asian bloc originally formulated, cricket boards haven't actually used their memberships very well, right? Like, what is the ICC? It's just the cricket boards, right? That's who it is. It's just the cricket boards. But that would be my guess, Robbie. It could also just be that they just saw an opportunity to continue to push it on. That's on India, right? Because that's what Pakistani politicians wanted to do. That would be my guess from the politics side of like.
Well, there's that side which we can all kind of to a certain degree take for granted because it's there. They want to stick it to the Indians politicians and that's going to happen. But like my constant thought is, okay, to what end, right?
Yeah.
At some point they're gonna, this is like shooting themselves in the foot, right? At
Is
what
it possible
point?
though that you're overthinking this? Like, as in that's not how it works, Robbie. Like, they don't care about cricket. Most of the people who've made decisions about cricket over the last couple of weeks, right? Like from the BCCI deciding that Mustafiza shouldn't be in, all these decisions that we've seen, how many of these people actually care about cricket, right? Most of these decisions have been made well above cricket.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Thank you for the super chat. Madav says, can't you all do playing 11 of the top 12 teams? We'll try and do that. The problem with that is that you've got to guess what the teams are going to do. What we were going to do today was, as I said, we're going to look at different swing players. We might try and do that in the extra KimAppa when we get a chance after this. But yeah, doing playing 11s of the top 10, 12 teams is really hard. It's actually a really particular skill, and it takes a lot longer than you would be able to do in a video like this if you want to do it properly. Most of the times we've done it, we've got it wrong because it's hard.
Yeah, Madhav, I'll tell you something, buddy. Yeah, like if you have thought of something, this guy has thought of it 4 weeks ago. Right?
We have done it occasionally.
Like so you can, like, there's one thing I've kind of come to terms with in cricket right now, in cricket broadcasting or cricket media, is that you can't beat Jarrod Kimber to the gun. He will be the first one to pull the trigger on stuff that people are only actually not even thinking of, you know. So that's why he's got an answer for all of this, because he's done the math 4 weeks ago. Like I said, I don't know how he's married still.
Neither do I. My wife's making the roast in the other room. Next one. Siddharth says the Olympics are great at lining pockets. End of. Yes, just not for 100%. The people who should be having their pockets lined.
Yeah.
Look, I still love the Olympics as a concept. I don't want to slag it off. I think I was saying to Robbie that I've been to a couple of Olympics. I would happily go to a couple more. Brisbane. Is Delhi confirmed, or am I just saying it because it's going to be Delhi?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Like, I'd love to go to Brisbane or Delhi, and LA. I'm still hoping to get out to LA as well. Like, I mean, Robbie would love to go out there, but we have to be honest in what is going on in the Olympics. And unfortunately, once you start to scrape at sport, you do realize just how murky and icky a lot of this stuff is. And I know a lot of fans have cognitive dissonance and they don't want to worry about it, but it does exist. And
Siva.
I've got to make, I don't know why my text is so small today.
Siva Subramaniam.
Oh, it is Siva. I hope this World Cup makes more revenue so this myth be busted once and for all and things go back to the 2010 ICC tournament. No compulsory India-Pakistan match. Oh, that's the other thing that we didn't mention. I'm 100% with this. This is a great comment of like...
100%. I agree with you.
We should not be fixing tournaments and making India play Pakistan every time. That is the opposite
for
of
the
sport.
love of God. Yeah, for the love of God, just do like a random draw and put teams into whatever groups they come up to. If they fall in the same draw, then let them play. But like, it's just and you.
It's not just India, Pakistan.
It's like blatant,
well.
right?
England, Australia do it as well. And
it's blatant, right? It is so blatant, right?
Yep.
That they're doing this right in front of us, like to our eyes, to our faces. They're doing this to us every freaking World Cup, every year. Every year, like we're talking about India-Pakistan rivalry, right?
Yeah.
And India-Pakistan are playing each other multiple times every year. Might as well play a India-Pakistan series, dude. You know what I mean? Like, what is
tennis.
this?
Like, look at the seeding process of tennis and how they or the football World Cups and everything. And I'm just like, can we not just have a grown-up sport for 5 minutes? The answer is always no. Next one, please. Steve says, Steve Ticolo. Well, I hope it's that one then.
I hope so.
Jarrod, your theory that India needs to play other countries for revenue is incorrect. IPL broadcasting deal is $8 billion compared to ICC $3 billion. IPL proves it wrong. No, we're talking about something different there, Steve. I'm not saying the only way to get to the IPL, to get to where we are now, is because India was playing cricket internationally and was making money internationally, which allowed it to grow into the sport that it has, right? I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. Australia also could end up making a lot more money if they just played domestically, right? But that is on the back of all those international cricketers who went to play in India. So I'm sorry, you're wrong on this one. You've misunderstood what I'm trying to say. In order,
Also,
when India play a game at home and they make $36 million for an ODI, that is Indian players and it's also foreign players involved. Money is made by both the players because of the way that works. If you want to play the IPL all year round, also you could do that because international cricket has grown that.
Correct. It actually, yeah, the IPL actually was born out of the success of international cricket.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not like someone just came up with the concept. Like people saw that there was value to it because of the amount of cricket that was being played, and there's a new version that could be capitalized on and could be monopolized after a certain point if it went right. There was a chance at the inception. Like no one really knew if the IPL would actually take off. Right?
Yeah.
They create so much FOMO around that product that it actually blew up.
Yeah.
Right?
And also domestic cricket.
I want to be a part of it.
Domestic cricket has helped international cricket, right? Like the county game was what Test cricket was originally based on, and also the reason the cricketers are so good is because of domestic cricket. But eventually, you have to admit that players from multiple countries are playing in games, and the revenue system in cricket has never made any sense because all it's really allowed for is for the richer countries to stay rich, right? And so, as I said, there's 22 players out on the field. And that's not the way that we look at it, whereas you do in other sports. There's many different reasons for that. Next question.
And that's why cricket's not a global sport yet.
There's lots of
reasons.
It's
not a truly global sport yet.
Rohit says, at this point, neither India or Pakistan wants to play each other. Only ICC wants it. Can we reach a point where the ICC survives without India-Pakistan match, for God's sake? Yeah, and I think that's what the previous Siva was saying a moment ago. This is the other issue of like, as me and Robbie have said, they force them to play all the time, and it's always uneasy and awkward, and you have no handshakes, and all these sorts of different things happen, and someone tweets after the game or during the game, or Harris Ralph does the stupid plane thing, and it's like, there's lots of reasons why we don't need to do what we're doing in cricket, but they have decided that TV companies will pay more, and so they will force it in. But remember, when you say the ICC... remember who the ICC is, guys, because India and Pakistan both have votes on the ICC, and they're also quite powerful compared to, I don't know, Ireland's vote. Ace says, can't wait to fast forward this nonsense into 2030 where the IPL will dominate the calendar.
Not 2030, Ace. I'd say 2035. Not
it's a long way away. I mean, me and Robbie both want...
me
and Robbie have just as many issues with the IPL not being as professional and as good as it should be.
Yeah. Let's not even start.
Thanks, Ace. Common Man says, Jarrod, whenever you talk about past stories, please go into detail and don't be like...
Exactly. I keep telling him. That's why I keep saying educators.
Detail today.
No, that's because I kept saying educators. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
No, educators. Because everyone wants to know. You're a fucking great storyteller, dude. Like you have to like go ahead and entertain us with that shit.
I did do a video the other day about this as well. You've got to remember, this is what happens when you get old. This is why your grandparents tell bad stories, kids. Because they, at that stage, have lived like 60, 70 years of their life. And they forget that you've only lived 12 years. And sometimes you forget. I've been doing this for now, 2026. I've now been working in cricket media for 19 years. And so sometimes the worst part of being a sports media, and Robbie will work this out in about 5 to 6 years. The worst part about working in sports media is you go, oh, I've already said this before, right? And then the producer yells in your ear, yeah, but these people don't know that thing. So you still have to say it again. And you're like, oh, but, you know, I always, in my sports media course, I always talk about, there's a guy called David Hops who worked for Cricinfo and The Guardian. and he said modern sports writers will complain that they have to write about Joe Root every 3 weeks. He's like, I covered county cricket when Boycott was playing. Every week he made 100, and every week we had to write an original piece on Boycott making another 100. Right, and it's true. Sports media is so repetitive, and so I apologize, common man. You're right. Abhinav says, I mean, the BCCI has no excuse in this. They can make indoor stadiums and look after cricket's better. So he's talking about the NFL indoor stadiums.
But screw the cricketers, bro. Like, Abhi, let me just leave the cricketers aside. I think they can make better stadiums just for the fans. Like decent bathrooms, like decent entryways, like to have
Better
like
food.
a modicum of sanitation in stadiums. Like just
Also,
that basic stuff.
It's really hard, and this is a thing that you get in India, but there's a lot of cricket countries. It's actually hard to get into these grounds, right? And I took that as, because I hadn't been to that many other sporting events, but I've been to Premier League football and I've been to the NBA recently, and I got in so much easier, Robbie. Right? So much easier into the stadium.
After going to that Sacramento game, right? I was like, what are we doing in the IPL? Yeah. Like the franchises.
When I went to watch the
so
Celtics
much.
play the Nuggets, I honestly didn't realize I was in the stadium because it was so easy. I was still waiting for the bit where I had to get my phone out. Someone was all the stuff that happens in and I was like, wait, am I already in? And suddenly I was like, oh my God, I could see the court. I've accidentally walked into a stadium here.
You can see the court from 10 different angles. Yeah. Like you walk in and you can see it depends on which floor you're on. You can see the court from, oh my God, it's like nuts. You just keep walking around. If you walk around to where we were at courtside. So if we were walking around, we started off on the second floor and we came down to courtside, right? So I saw, just in my walk down, which is a 7-minute walk at best, that walk down to courtside, I saw the court from practically every angle, right? Yeah. It was nuts. And it was so easy. And there's so many shops along the way. Yes. There's so much entertainment along the way, different kind of foods along the way. And it's simple and it's not difficult to create.
Yeah. And if you're a cricket fan, if you've ever been to the MCG, it's worth just going to the MCG once in your life just to see what cricket could do. And I understand it's not just cricket money and Aussie, but when you're there, you are like, oh my God, this feels like I'm at a thing, and it feels important. Thank you to Jessica, who's always supporting us. So thank you very much. Also, she's probably like, this is a better time than you guys usually do. Gray says, what do you think of the ways the ICC can penalise the PCB, and what do you think are the ways the BCCI can fire back at the PCB? So the penalty, as I said, it's a forfeit of points. I don't think there's a precedent, so they'll have to change the precedent based on everything that's ever happened before, which is again going to look very political and very ugly.
It's not going to be a simple, Jarrod. I think it's going to be very political. I think it's going to get dirty. I think there's going to be implications of financial means that PCB are going to have to pay for or suffer because the revenue from those games that the broadcaster would have made, the ground collection would have made, the ticket collections would have made, all of that will have to be borne by someone.
But you understand why, if that has never happened before, that means it's going to look worse than all these other occasions that I've already talked about before. But you're right, it could happen.
But that's the thing. It will be to set a precedent as well, right? Because as a governing body, you would want to not have these kind of issues because it disrupts a tournament to a certain degree, right?
Yes, agreed.
And I think it should, I agree with you as well. I think it should be the same across the board, right? I don't think anyone should get special treatment. Right.
Yeah, I think India, let's go back to the Champions Trophy. And I said this from the start in the Champions Trophy. I think India should have been allowed to not play in that if they didn't want to play in that. Right. Yeah. In the same way that Bangladesh is I know Bangladesh is a lot later, but that was because of the awkward situation. But I'm okay with countries being like, I don't want to play in this tournament, or I don't want to play against these teams because.
But that's one of the challenges with say the ICC, or from a common sense point of view, right? Yeah. Now if India doesn't play a tournament, your viewership tanks, right?
But
that
sport,
and that is not a position I think the ICC want to put themselves in.
No,
right?
Of course,
because there's almost so much money already invested into it, right?
100%. But what we're talking about then is not sport again, right?
It's not sport.
Yeah.
But like today, how can you not look at sport as one of the biggest money churners in the world? And
Oh, it's yeah.
and yeah,
You know the
and I
numbers.
think yeah.
Next comment. Sorry. Pant is our best test batter, but doesn't feature in white ball.
Left
How
field.
would that impact his confidence? You never played in Test cricket. Did that impact your confidence? Like Naomi is asking.
No, no. So Naim, I think he's worked out why it's not worked out for him in white ball cricket, and I think that he's probably made a semblance of peace with it, because even today when you look at where he bats, even in the IPL, right, where he's captain of a franchise, like we see him batting at number 4 and number 5. And I, like, for the life of me, I've never understood why someone of Rishabh's caliber is not opening the batting or batting at number 3. That's where he should end. He should not bat below number 3. But he believes, I think, on some level that he is a great finisher in white ball cricket, and he wants to, and his numbers there are really great. Jar, we can do a deep dive on his numbers maybe before the IPL and have a look at what his numbers are at number 5.
Before Ricky Ponting ruined him and after Ricky Ponting ruined him.
Yeah, let's do a deep dive.
All right, next one. I love that this guy asked the nerdiest question there.
Yeah.
Karen has asked what Robbie's favorite tennis player is and why. I know who his favorite tennis player is. She's sitting next to him right now.
My favorite tennis player. Funnily enough, she's never played tennis with me, even though I've asked her to like play with tennis with me so many times.
That's funny because she asked me to play tennis with her the other day.
Did you ask Jarrod to play tennis with him the other day? No, there's no way. She she wouldn't go on the court if you paid her to.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Like after that point, she might actually do it because she's a Marwadi by nature, so by birth. So she will go and play for money after a certain point. She's making funny faces at me. But my favorite player, tennis player.
Yeah,
my favorite player was Pete Sampras, and then obviously the postmodern greats of Nadal and Rafa and Djoko. I think Djoko right now, my God, bro, to have the kind of discipline, like let's not take away from what Sinner and Alcaraz is today, right? But to have that kind of discipline, right? And dedication over a period of 22 years at the highest realms of your sport, at the pinnacle of your sport, right? To compete there and to do it day in and day out and go toe to toe with people 15 years younger than you and almost beat them, right? Like you could see in the first set when he lost today, right? In the first set, he won it 5-2, 6-2, right? Second set, he lost 6-2. And then you knew, like, if he had the same kind of energy that he had in the first set, through the course of those 5 sets, the outcome would have been different. It's just that the body's gotten older. He's trying to manage. He's trying to finish points early. He's trying to, curb the angles that this kid can cover. But this kid's he is like 1.5 times what Rafa is with the amount of.
How we ended up talking about tennis? I don't understand how this happened.
It's one of the greatest sports in the world. That's why.
No, it's in the top 100. When I was a kid, I was given a Stefan Edberg jacket, and he was my favorite tennis player. But I'm only telling you this story because I wore that jacket everywhere, and I used it like when I would come out the shower, like as a rope. And then one day, as I was zipping up the jacket, I zipped up my foreskin, and I ended up having to go to the hospital. And the best thing about that story is not just that happened, and it's true, and it took about 4 hours to get the foreskin back out of the Stefan Edberg jacket, but also that I once told that story in front of Raul Jarrod, and we were on camera, and it is still one of the highlights of my career. Anyway, I'll go into the details.
I've done that myself. Yeah. I've done that. I've zipped my foreskin on in one of my shots when I was a kid. Painful.
I knew we were brothers.
I didn't have to go to the hospital, by the way. I didn't have to go to the hospital, by the way.
Sorry, next question. Steve says, right, IPL born over international cricket, but now it has reached a stage where it's overtaken international cricket. Yeah, we've talked about that heaps of times, Steve.
Yeah.
There's no one that doesn't agree with that. I'm actually, I think what is happening at the moment now with Bangladesh, Pakistan, and the future of international cricket, this could be the fracture. And I did a video about that the other day, Steve. You can have a look.
And Steve, we've been talking about this. We've been saying that ICC should freaking move on from this whole international thing and just like having bilaterals and all of this stuff and just kind of like do World Cups only as far as international cricket is concerned, and then run 3 or 4 leagues that are the most premium leagues and globalize the sport. Like I think there should be one league for the Australasia region of the world. There should be one league in the Indian subcontinent region. Maybe 2 leagues there, or 3 leagues there, but depending on the density of people, right? Then you have one in one in Africa, then you have one in Europe, and then you have one in the Americas. And that way you actually globalize the sport, right? And then that becomes the way the game grows. If anything, if ICC should do anything, they should actually go in that direction of taking on the game to like areas it hasn't even dared to venture into. Right? They have to go completely left field, and they're not doing it. And it's unfortunate they're not doing it because cricket at this point is primed for it. And today we're talking about a 4th format, right? Today we're talking about Test cricket, one-day cricket, T20 cricket, and we're talking about the 100. Now people have spent hundreds of millions of pounds on the 100. So, like, think about it. They are going to try and legitimize that version of the sport because T10, the rights of T10, the IP is held by one person, and he's not willing to let it go for whatever reason. And that can be a great version of the game for it to be the introductory version of the game for anyone who's not played cricket, right? It's a great version to introduce cricket to countries, or to globally as a sport. But he's holding the IP and he's not willing to share it with ICC or the powers that exist today, and that's why they're not even entertaining that version of the game, and they're looking at the 100 today, right? And they spend so much money on the 100, and I think there's that 4th format that's coming up. I want to throw a 5th format there for the legend, saying that it should only be 90 balls.
Because we take 5 overs to man who doesn't want to stand in the field for very long.
Because I'll tell you what, the fans come there for the nostalgia, right? Yeah. We take 5 overs to warm up, and then 10 overs you get good cricket. By the end of 10 overs, we're gassed. So we want to get out there.
Was it the John Hastings over when he couldn't hit the pitch?
Yeah, woo!
Right? Yeah. All right, next one. Common Man says, I think the ICC will penalise Pakistan because this is different to the previous boycotts, as those teams had legit threats. But here, Pakistan is offered to play in Sri Lanka, so no legit reasons. No, there wasn't always legit threats. As if you go back to what I was saying before, some of them were just political, so they weren't legit threats. But they might penalise them because it's Pakistan as well, and they might penalise them, as Robbie said, to make sure no one does this again. But teams will do this again. All right, next question. Steve says again, Bangladesh decision was voted 14-2. Now, Pakistan not playing on the back of that decision is like if ICC does not do the thing according to us, we will boycott the India game. Remember, as we said before, the ICC is a bunch of cricket boards who wanted it to go ahead. What you're talking about now is Pakistani politicians getting involved. It's very different, Steve, from that perspective. Next question. Steve's on fire, actually. Naveed says, Rob, are we not feeling the energy of the opening pair?
Opening pair. Like, see, one of the things I've always maintained is form will always be temporary. And I've said that about Shubman Gill, I've said that about Virat Kohli, I've said that about Rohit Sharma, I've said that about every cricketer that exists. When you're a player of that caliber, I don't think the form of Sanju Samson is an issue. Even with Suryakumar Yadav, I said, like, I don't think he's out of form. I think he's just not batting in one position long enough. And I think the kind of player that Sanju Samson is, I think when he comes off in tandem with Abhishek Sharma, they look like $1 million, and that energy is insane. Like I said, for me, it reminds me of the energy or the intimidation factor that Sanath Jayasuriya and Romesh Kaluvitarana actually had when they played one-day cricket in the late 90s and early 2000s. I don't know if you were old enough to have witnessed them bat together,
basically,
but that was something
the revolution of power play batting.
Correct. They revolutionized power play batting then, and I feel like these two share that same kind of energy. I'm not too worried about Sanju's form even. Like, we know the caliber of player that he is. I think if he's persisted with, I think in a tournament like a World Cup or an IPL, every player wins you 1 or 2 games, right? In the IPL, you hope that the big players that you spend money on win you 4 out of 14 games. or 4 out of 16 games. And you hope that 4 comes off at those important points, right? Especially with T20 cricket, when you've decided to play a certain way. Like you want to play at 180, 200 strike rate. That's the way they are playing. Right now, yes, he has got the opportunities. Yes, he's not performed, right, in the opportunities that have come his way. But there's also always been a sword over his head that if he doesn't perform, there's someone waiting for a spot. There's never been a time where just go and bat, buddy. When we have given him that chance, we're like, just go and bat, right? And just do your thing, because we know you'll do your thing. He's done well, right? And like, if you've never been in that position, you will never understand what that feels like to have a sword over your head at all points in time, right? So I can empathize with that. I'm not saying that he's not gotten the opportunities. I will acknowledge that he has gotten the opportunities, but I'm not worried. I said this even about Surya. I said in every World Cup, there will be in the team that goes into a World Cup, you will carry one player. And I was ready to carry, like for India, I was saying carry Surya if that's required. Because when he comes off, he will win you matches like he's winning now, which he did against New Zealand. I will say the same thing for Sanju Samson. I'm like, carry him, stick with him, right? And keep your Ishan Kishan number 3.
Yeah.
But if Tilak gets ready, then play your best 11. If Tilak gets ready, play your best 11.
We're in a weird delay at the moment.
Yeah.
I just worry about ever picking a World Cup team based on form anyway, because Abhishek's been making runs everywhere. He could now go into a slump because he's making lots of runs, and Sanju could go the other way around. If you think they're your best 2 players, and as long as you don't think there is a technical or a mental reason why he's not going to come out of it, then you continue to pick him. All right, let's run through the rest of these. AVL Pandey says, your opinion on the Narendra Modi Stadium. I've never been. Is it? Have you been?
I've actually been, but I've only been on the broadcasting side of stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't really gone to the players side. I haven't really seen that side much. I know that getting in and out is really hard, because even as a broadcaster, like there's only one entrance to that place, and then and then I don't know why when you get into these stadiums, even if you go 2 or 3 hours early, the 2 ways become 1 ways, and they just be like, it's just like common sense escapes people when matches actually happen, and it's like almost you're doing it to inconvenience people rather than actually make it more streamlined to actually make it easier for the people. It's something that has completely almost like always baffled me.
Agreed.
But I've not really experienced the Narendra Modi Stadium outside of that. I don't know what the fan experience is like. I know the fan experience in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in Chennai, in Calcutta, and I think they can all do with a little bit of spruce up, especially the sanitation and the bathrooms.
Yeah, and gates, as Robbie was saying, gates around the world of cricket. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry,
cricketing. What is your previous super chat? If it was something controversial, he probably intentionally stayed away from it.
Is Australia's mentality prepared for this T20 World Cup? Seems like they aren't interested. I don't see Australia going past Super 8. They're uncomfortable against spin. Oh, no.
That is a misnomer.
Yeah.
That is a misnomer. Australia are always tails up when it comes to World Cup. Don't
Specifically, if you go through history, they're not very good at warm-up events. And they've quite often done this before. They don't take warm-up events very seriously compared to some teams who are like, some teams like to hit the ground running. Australia believe that they'll just make it work. Just to let everyone know that the super chats are glitching. I don't know why today, but they are. So there is some issues here. Rohit says Bangladesh team coming to India in February. This is another issue I really have, is how often men's cricket specifically is used as a political tool when other sports just go ahead and no one cares about it. But
you know why?
That's what happens when you're the big boy.
It's the eyeballs on the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and we get it. We get it. But it's just something that annoys me a little bit. Where
it's disgusting.
Like there's no... You're only doing this because you know it'll make more... If you do this for the hockey tournament, people may not notice it.
No one can.
Anyway, next question.
Yeah.
Esther says, I don't think this is the end of this. Broadcasters lose too much money with no India-Pakistan. ICC will be forced to sit on the table. Look, it's not the end of it. If they pull out of this game, it will have long-lasting effects. But also, the ICC are going to have to understand that they can't just keep scheduling this game over and over again and not trying to grow the sport in any other way. Which is what Robbie and I have been
also saying. I think you also have to look at who's running ICC at this point in time, right? I think with Mr. Jayasha being at the helm there, the intention to send a strong message will also be that much more, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, next one came up and then went. Real King of Cricket says, Jarrod, how much value do you think India-Pakistan league match of any World Cup holds revenue-wise? Suppose whole World Cup earns $100 to ICC, then how much is India-Pakistan league match? It's hard to give you an exact amount because, as I said before, I think if you look at the ICC rights is $3 billion. I think the India-Pakistan games for ICC cricket is probably somewhere around 20 to 25% of that, because it's such a big game and it really is unlike anything else.
Can you break down the rights bit, Jarrod, a little bit? Because I think when you break it down a little bit more as to what the ICC rights are and what they entail, I think it will give a clearer picture to the viewers.
So the best way of putting it is, we don't know how much any game is worth, right? We don't know how much our World Cup final is worth. We don't know how much Zimbabwe versus Italy is worth, right? We don't have that available to us. So what we're really looking at is, if you talk to, these things are sold as one big package over a long period of time. So you're not just buying the men's World Cup, right? You're also buying the women's World Cups. You're buying their champions trophies. You might be buying the World Test Championship final. All these different things are quite often packaged in all one go. But what we do know is that one of the reasons the rights are so high is because of the high potentiality, or in the ICC's case, Robbie, the eventuality that India are going to play Pakistan every time. Yeah. And so many people have given me randomly different numbers, but my understanding is it's worth about 25% of the overall package, because that game is watched so much and the ad rates are so high on those games compared to everything else.
Yeah, they're different, right? For those games. I think they're priced differently for those games.
Exactly. And so I can't give you an exact number because, to be honest, even the TV companies would struggle to give you an exact number. But if you want to hear my funniest story, there was a Pakistani American actor called Iqbal Thiba, lovely gentleman who quite often comments on my work, on other cricket people's work as well, he was in Community and he was in Glee. So he's been in major American shows. I tried to get him into one of the World Cups because he asked, and the ICC were like, he's not famous enough to be able to get into those World Cups, because even the VIPs, it is very hard to get a VIP ticket for an India-Pakistan game, Robbie. Like, it's hard. If you want to have a suite, like a commercial suite, a lot of the people who have suites, a lot of people who own those boxes suddenly can't afford them when it comes to India-Pakistan time. Like, it really is. It's just a different level on every way. So it's so important on so many different ways. Foxer1 says, crap fest from each and every board, in my opinion. Not just, I think this has been taken away from the boards, but I also understand what you're saying. Leave your beautiful game alone. And Jarrod, who's your hair guy? Mark Nicholas is my hair guy. Next question. Cricketing says, oh no, we've already done this one. I think we might have done them all, Rakshir, unless you've just put this one up twice. He's not sure. Is Rakshit there? This might be the glitch he was talking about. This might be the glitch. So yeah, just apologies to everyone with the super chats. It's been a bit of a weird day. PNF says, Shadab's analysis became such an interesting point, and we're all talking and looking at it this heroes. Can I borrow your brain for a few hours? Yeah, so I've done a couple of videos on Shadab Khan before. I think it's fair to say that those videos have reached Shadab Khan, and it'd be interesting to see how he goes. But we've also done it for another player, of course, recently as well. It's just, I just have pattern recognition. I don't think I'm very smart. I just have pattern recognition. And sometimes I can see things that other people struggle to see. Shadab Khan knows a lot more about leg spin than I do, right?
I can vouch for the fact that he's not very smart.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I was saying this the other day. This is what's funny. When like someone like Shadab Khan or Kuldeep Yadav or whoever, right, like asks for advice or wants to look at stuff, I was like, do you know how disgusted they would be, Robbie, if they saw my leg spin after that? But I can't put what's in my head physically, right? But I can see the patterns really, really easily in a way that other people can't. But yeah.
I can't believe, like, you know, guys, we were talking about something on our chat, and he was telling me, we were talking about, he just did a video about the all the deliveries that exist in cricket, right? And then he had something called the Zooter, which is one of my favorite deliveries in leg spin. And I was like, I love the Zooter, you know, when I saw Zooter on his blackboard. He said, I bowled the Zoter once, and the guy who I the guy who I bowled against, the guy who I bowled this ball to, took a run and then came off and said to me, don't ever bowl that ball again. And I have never bowled. I thought, what an idiot. I said, not everyone's Shane Warne. Like, you keep practicing it till you get it.
With the Zoter, I can do the backspin on it, right? Which is fine. The problem with the Zoter is that you have to make it look like you're bowling leg spin and you're running your fingers down the back of it. And I can do one of those things at the same time. Does that make sense? So it's otherwise, what happens if I'm bowling it to you, right? So basically, if I bowl to a very good batter, I basically bowl two deliveries, which is my stock leg spinner and my slider, because they look really similar. The minute I can bowl multiple wrong uns, but you will be able to pick the wrong un before I even hit the crease, right? Because you know what you're looking for. And that's what this guy was basically saying to me is, you've just completely changed everything you do to try and bowl that ball. And for years, I tried to make it work. Whereas the slider, very natural to me. I could come in tomorrow and bowl the slider. I don't want to, slag off any international cricketers, but did get Ed Cowan out in the nets with a slider once. Next question, please.
And that's why Ed Cowan doesn't talk to him.
That's why we're no longer friends. Jack says, if Test cricket stops existing, how much will it affect the quality of cricket in T20 leagues compared to now? Players won't be as good without Test. I agree. You don't agree, Robbie?
Well, I don't know, man. I think if you take away Test cricket completely, I think it won't affect the quality of T20 leagues, because I think the quality of T20 leagues today in the world, if you look at it,
it's quality of the cricket, though, not the quality of the league.
Even the quality of the cricket, right? I think they've already gone down, because even literally they're playing T20 cricket and Test cricket.
Yeah.
Like today, find me a batter who's willing to fight it out in a tough situation. The ball seeming around a little bit, they're swinging their bat, man. Like you saw the Ashes, like a little bit of moving, seeming on the deck, and then they're just swinging, for the high heavens. And so that's what cricket's already become. So I think we're way past that stage.
I still think that, and you and I have talked about this before, why we think that first class cricket and Test cricket can help is because if you get on a bad pitch, you have to bat on that bad pitch for 40 or 50 deliveries. Whereas in T20 cricket, you might only be on it for 2 or 3 deliveries. And so I still think there are skills that can be learnt in red ball cricket that would help with the overall quality.
Yeah, but no one's learning that skill because, Jad, no one's learning that skill because that is not what pays the cricketers, right? What pays the cricketers is getting to that T20 league and then getting in there, right? So, like, you look at the kids growing up, everyone's playing the switch hit. Today, when I went to South Africa and watched, when I was there, I'm there 2 hours before a game, and then they have this this unique thing of sending the kids into the ground and letting them play cricket with their parents, with their families, and so they're all playing cricket there for an hour and a half before the game even begins. So and you would just observe the kids playing, and you see everyone playing switch hits, everyone playing reverse sweeps, everyone playing the ramp shot. No one's really playing a high elbowed cover drive or a high elbowed back foot punch or a square cut or a bull shot. No one's really playing that. Everyone's heaving and so what the future of cricket is going to look like, because everybody is playing to get into T20 cricket and score runs at a high pace, right? So that's why you see that also in. And today we're celebrating the likes of we're celebrating, notwithstanding his prowesses in Test cricket and what he's be able to achieve in Test cricket, Rishabh Pant for his unorthodox batting approach, right? Or a Harry Brook or a Ben Duckett for that matter, right? When things get a little hard, they just throw their bat at everything, right? And they think that the offense is the best way to defense, and that's where cricket is at this point in time. So, to that question, I think we're way past that point.
Naam says, I went to watch, along with my son, India versus Australia Test match in Delhi last time. They toured. Sweep virus, Ozbat. Lose with pathetic, Evo for a 3K ticket. There's bad toilets in world cricket. I one day I'm going to give my
scary to take your children to these,
worst
man.
Toilets. Yeah, it's stuff like that. We just it doesn't need to be like that. So
how?
Just so at Edgbaston one time, my wife brought the pram in with the kids, right? And she was basically treated really rudely by everyone for bringing a pram in. And she's like, well, how else do I bring the child in? Like, I'm going to carry him all the way up the stairs to Edgbaston, right? And it's like, so I had to make phone calls to people who ran Edgbaston and be like, what are you doing? Like, my wife just wants to come in. Like, this is what we're talking about. We don't make
Yeah.
people feel welcome at cricket grounds.
Welcome.
And there's no reason to do that. That
Yeah.
doesn't cost money. That is just a
Doesn't.
good way of like operating a sport. Anyway. Oh, Shanta is better there. India Heartbeat says, to be honest, I think both Bangladesh and Pakistan cricket will be pushed back at least a decade. Short-sightedness. To be honest, mate.
We don't know about Pakistan. I don't know. But Bangladesh, I really feel like I feel for the cricketers because I don't know, because they wanted to play, right? Like they put out a statement saying we really want to play.
We know
Tamim Iqbal, Tamim tried to say like, hey guys, let's focus on the impact this could have on our cricket over the next few years. Like let's not be short-sighted about this whole thing. And you feel from an athletic point of view, from a cricketer's point of view, you can understand what that feels like because a lot of people
want to play.
Yeah, man, in a World Cup, like, dude, like we work our asses off to get to that point where like we want to be in that World Cup squad, right? It's a primary goal for us when you're preparing, like when you're looking up into your career 2 or 3 years down the line, right? So you're vying, like you want to represent your country in a World Cup and you want to hopefully win a World Cup because that is a rarity. You don't often do that. Like today in what 1.5 billion people, how many Indian World Cup winners are there? Like in what?
Well, there's one on this podcast, so
how many million?
50%?
How many million? how many million people are there in Australia? And out of that, how many people are actually World Cup winners? Right? Yeah. It's a rarity. So athletes look forward to a World Cup, an Olympic, or Olympics, and all of these. It's
what you dream of, right? So to have that taken away over things that you have nothing to do with is ridiculous. Yeah. All right, next question.
We're just hearing that ICC have asked PCB to reconsider.
Yeah. So I mean, that was always going to happen next, wasn't it? I don't think this is a PC. I mean, to be fair, a bit like the BCCI and Sri Lanka and the SLC, there is an overlap between the politics and the boards, obviously. But I don't think this is a PCB decision. This is a government of Pakistan decision. As far as I've been told, it only happened a couple of hours ago. I only sent a couple of text messages out, but that's what I've heard. Abhinav says, Jarrod gives headband 80s tenor player vibes. I have. I talked about Stefan Edberg, but I do have a backpack, or a bag here with Bjorn Borg on it. But I don't quite have the full Bjorn Borg. Maybe one day I'll give it a go. And if you don't know who Bjorn Borg is,
maybe a bandana. Maybe a bandana, like an Agassi bandana.
I didn't like Agassi, but that's a conversation for a different day. Anurad says, I think there should be some precedent set, or else it would give forfeiture as a weapon to political parties to score more points. On one hand, the ICC is trying to make cricket popular. On the other hand, we see things like this. Okay, so here's the only thing I would say about this is that you are penalising the cricketers, and I'm not saying, that's ultimately what's going to happen one way or another. But do you really think the politicians are going to worry about that? That's not what politicians care about. They care about how this plays to their constituents and to everyone else. So the actual penalty would be if there was a political fallout to, Pakistan or Bangladesh from this. It won't be if, I don't know, they get 5% less funding or 20% less funding. That just won't affect them. SRT says, why do we get fewer fast bowlers from under 19 who play internationals when compared to batters and wicket keepers? Am I just wrong here? What should their ideal journey be? Very hard, I think, to work out if someone is like, a lot of guys are maturing physically between the age of 19 and 22, 23. And generally, when they mature, like if you look at someone like Jimmy Anderson, who at 18, at 17 wasn't a bowler and at 18 it was. Or Stuart Broad at 16 did a very similar thing. So quite often bowlers physically develop later, and that allows them to bowl faster and everything else. So the age curve is very different.
Theory.
Go, give it to me.
So my theory is the guys who end up playing international cricket, fast bowlers who end up playing international cricket, are the ones who start late.
Yeah,
they start after the bone plates are all.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. That physical development, right? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So for me, I think whether it's by chance or whether it's just a planned thing, they start like I look at Indian fast bowlers like Javagal Srinath, Venkatesh Prasad, Munaf Patel. All of these guys are people who started at the age of 18, 19. Ishant Sharma was 16, I think, when he started bowling fast. Varun Aaron, on the other hand, is someone who started bowling fast at the age of 9 and 10. And poor guy was injury-ridden for the most part of his career.
Broad and Anderson... Anderson only plays weekend cricket until he's, 18, I think? And Broad was a batter until he was 18 as well, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, there's lot. I think I'm with you. You look at that sort of look at Pat Cummins. He's a completely different bowler than he was when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
If you're not fully grown, I think bowling at 85 miles an hour is really, really tough. I think Dirk Nannes has said this before of like, he thinks he had such a good career into his 30s because he didn't play professional cricket in his early 20s.
Yeah, I think so. But you know, I think who's nailed the science on fast bowling is New Zealand. I think New Zealand have broken that science down. And if you look at some of those guys who played, like Saudi, I think played the Under-19 World Cup, right? I think played the Under-19 World Cup. I can't remember.
Bolt played Under-19 World Cup too, didn't he?
Bolt played Under-19 World Cup.
But maybe it's harder in New Zealand because they've only got 12 people to pick from at any one time.
Maybe that, but the thing is, the longevity. No, the longevity is what I'm talking about. The longevity because I think that, like, when you look
Carl
at Carl
Jamieson and Shane Bond are calling you up at the moment, Robbie, to go be like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, but like, you know, like Shane Bond, like I think even like you look at even like a Matt Henry's action, you look at a Lockie Ferguson's action, very similar to Shane Bond's action. The same, like, you know. Load up and then release. They're all pretty similar because that's the most injury-free action that you can possibly have. Like if you see Brett Lee's action pre-injury to post-injury and how he changed it and how much of a difference it made. Like you won't recognize like Brett Lee's bowling. You won't recognize Brett Lee if you saw him in his previous action before his injury. Like so different.
Curious says, which associate side do you see doing really well in this World Cup and why? I like Nepal and I like the Netherlands because I like their play against spin and their spin options. I think some of the other teams, Oman, if they were fully fit, I quite like. And I always
USA.
think UAE. Hey? USA just lost their best player.
Batter?
Yeah. Probably their highest quality batter anyway.
Oh my
if not
God,
their best.
Dude. Like it's such a shame. It's such a shame that this continues to happen in cricket.
Yeah, we will do more on that. I've actually got a podcast soon that you're going to really like about gambling with a guy in America that's quite
I want to do that with you. Like, let's do that. Like, I want to do that at some point.
Yeah. And Kit says, can Nepal and Sri Lanka have one team each in the IPL? I don't think you need to enter the IPL now. I think the IPL is the IPL. Maybe eventually there is a chance of doing something like that. But I don't think that Nepal, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Bangladesh all need their own leagues. And I think that's what me and Robbie are trying to say. Yeah. I don't think that helps any of those countries to all have your own leagues.
Yeah. I think so. Like, for example, IPL can be one of the global leagues on the subcontinent. They can have another league or two that can become a primary kind of funnel for the rest of the associate nations and test playing nations just for the Asia or the subcontinent region, right? So you focus on those specific areas and you don't take people from outside. Maybe you take one or two from the outside so that you improve the quality of your cricket in those regions. But outside of that, you just develop that talent, right? So it's not a very expensive league, but the people you're hiring to play and you're coaching your young cricketers, they get paid the big bucks. Everybody else, it's a developmental league that leads them to hopefully playing an IPL or playing a big bash that is the Australasia League or the Europe League that, I don't know, can be whichever one.
Like the old county rule where you had like one or two pros, right? That makes a lot more sense. So there's so many teams spending all this money on foreign players who are never going to come back. It's just, I don't understand why you would do that. ICC released a statement. Any comments?
What did they say?
It's just that they've asked the PCB to reconsider. Yeah, so we mentioned that Anand, but thank you. Yeah. Farton Luther King says, can the ICC survive the de-risking of the India-Pakistan rivalry? Does selective participation signal the end of the World Cup format as we know it? No, because if you might have come in late, but this has happened before and cricket is still together. But as Robbie said, the world has gone into more extreme ways and we might get stuff like this. I don't think it's the end of the World Cup format as we know it, but it might be the end of India, Pakistan playing each other automatically all the time, which most people who have any sense in their brain would be like, that's a good idea. We shouldn't do that.
No, I don't think that's gonna land on them. I promise you, I don't think that's gonna land on them.
It won't.
Anytime
Of course
soon.
it won't.
No, it won't.
Noble says, I think the game was politicized by India before in Asia Cup with no handshake, but being a Pakistani cricket fan, the game should have gone ahead. look, this game has been politicized for years, right? Social media has changed things and everything else. But
social media has made it more extreme.
Yeah,
and that's quicker. What I think.
It's just quicker, right?
Yeah. It's just made it like it's just like reactionary. It's become more reactionary than responsive, right? Yeah. No one's really thinking before saying anything, and they're just like shooting their mouth off, like shooting from the hip, right? And just like, and then like we'll deal with the repercussions as they happen.
Agreed. We might need to call this Rakshit. Thank you, Yash. Is IOC keeping one eye on this with the Olympics? Probably, but you got to remember with the IOC, I don't think they're just, the IOC just want like major Indian players to go over and play, and they're still going to go over and play in the Olympics. So that's all they really want.
So I think the IOC kind of look forward to the Olympics because it's a time when they get to travel with the entire families, the administrators.
No.
So they look for the Olympics.
There's one last super chat. I like that. Oh, one last super chat just came up and then went, what's your percentage? He doesn't get any money from the super chats. I don't allow it. He doesn't actually get paid to be on this network.
Yeah. I'm like, everything goes to Combox right now.
Yeah, well, that is true. I think that's, oh no, God, Yash says, only problem is ad slot being inflated India-Pakistan matches. This might force an increase in the price of these slots in other games.
But this is not just, Yash, this is not just the World Cup. This is also the IPL, right? If you look at the broadcasting rights today, like today, I can tell you from a broadcaster's point of view that a lot of the broadcasters on the receiving end, for everything that's going on with inflated prices, and then the inflated prices were supported by certain advertisers being present, and now those advertisers are not present anymore, and so suddenly money's gone off, and then so suddenly the inflated prices are like have hit home, and they become a reality today, and they suddenly realize that we've overvalued what the value of the ad slots are, or the rights were, and so they're trying to rebalance the whole thing, and it's a shit show. Let's just say that.
It's worth saying this, that I've been looking into this a lot recently when there was that story that the Geo might pull out of the ICC rights. Almost every major organization who's bought sports rights over the last 10 or 15 years has tried to renegotiate or pull out because they're all overpaying, and everyone knew that Geo overpaid for these ICC rights, right?
Yeah.
So now
like when
that this
it came
game's
out,
not
even
playing,
like, what is this number?
So with this game not playing, that will give them more of a chance to renegotiate. Chase Master said, hey, Jarrod and Robbie, how do you rate Zahir Abbas and Dean Jones in ODIs? Top 10 all time for you. I rate them very highly, only behind Viv, VK, Sachin, ABD. Dean Jones had a period where he was incredible, but his whole career doesn't quite always stand up. And Zahir Abbas, even more so. There was one period of time where Zahir Abbas was just an absolute freak. But I'm not sure they had the same level of careers as some of the other great ODI players, that are also in that conversation. But they're both great. We actually mentioned both of these players on a podcast the other day that we did one of the crick picks. So you can go and have a look at that, and you can hear about us talking.
Chase Master, another question for you to probably think about. Would you put Zahir Abbas ahead of Javed Miandad and Saeed Anwar and Inzamam Ulaq as an ODI batter?
Javed Miandad's really fascinating because he was a very slow player, but it's mostly because he didn't care. And when he wanted to be great, he would step up, right? Like, let's be honest, that's kind of how he was.
He had that gear in him, didn't he?
Yeah. Where are we? Are we done? Are we finished? Rakshit, play an ad. We're done. Thank you very much to everyone.
Can you believe it? I was thinking, how are we going to speak for an hour, like an hour even, for one topic? And here we are.
And here we are. This has been a podcast about India or Pakistan's rivalry, about how much Robbie's wife doesn't love him to play tennis, and also about both of our foreskins. We will be back again soon. We will record the other episode, but maybe not in the next couple of days. But we will do a little bit of a World Cup preview as well, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah. But this is it for Jarrod and Robbie. We're signing out. Thanks to everyone for being here, and also thanks to the great comments. Those were really, really good and interesting super chats as well. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.